Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. My name is Kay and this week we are continuing our dive into Teen Titans with the origin of Wonder Girl. That's right, this week we are finally getting into Cassie Sandsmark's origin. From now on, we'll call this the origin era of Teen Titans because almost every arc going forward will involve a character's origin. At least up until Scott Lobdell leaves the book. So without further ado, let's get straight into Teen Titans issue 10, written by Scott Lobdell with art by Brett Booth and Norm Rapmund. The story continues from where we last left off at the end of The Culling, where the Teen Titans have landed on a mysterious island and Bart has come face to face with a weird dinosaur bird thing. They've also been split up across the island. Bart, Tim, Miguel, and Corinne are on one side of the island, while Cassie and Superboy are somewhere, we don't know where they are, but because Bart is the only one that has woken up and there's this dinosaur seemingly attacking him, he has to fight back against it. So he grabs some vines around the woods and ties it up, and at the same time, he just won't shut up. He keeps having to say some kind of quip every single speech bubble. He then quickly runs over, grabs Tim, wakes him up, and starts carrying him to safety, and he also quickly summarizes what they've all just gone through to him. He's like, oh yeah, remember when we dealt with Nowhere and stopped Harvest and stuff like that, even though we didn't actually stop him? Well, now we've ended up on a mysterious island, and this weird dragon thing is attacking us. And Tim is like, and you left Miguel and Corinne with it? And Bart quickly goes and grabs them and is like, oh, of course not. At this moment, the dinosaur notices a trap door emerging from the sand, and underneath the trap door is Superboy and Cassie Sandsmark. Superboy sees the creature and decides to attack it, and this is where his name that they've given him is revealed for the first time. Connell. Cassie calls him Connell. I don't know why she calls him that. There's no reason for her to know his name. I guess he must have told her it off panel, because we've never seen him be called by this name. He's just been known as Superboy up until this point. Also, it's revealed in the Superboy book that Connell is a derogatory word for clones, so Cassie is calling him a slur. So yeah, good on her. Cassie tells Superboy not to fight the dinosaur, because unlike the T-Rex that they fought earlier, it's not aggressive or anything, because they fought a T-Rex off panel. It's just really scared, and so it looked like it was attacking them. So she helps it get out of its vines and becomes friends with this dinosaur thing. Since Superboy's real name has been revealed, I think from now on I'll just call him Connor. I refuse to call him by that other name, just because of the context within this universe. Tim again acts like a dick and is like, since nobody else is doing anything, I'm gonna figure out exactly where we are. And he flies off, and Miguel's like, hey, anybody else notice that he's being a bit of a dick? I should go talk to him. So he interrupts Tim, and he's like, hey man, what are you doing? Tim has a go at him. He's like, oh, Skid has gone missing, Artemis is dead, Danny the Street was nearly obliterated in Harvest Knollfield, Wonder Girl and Superboy are who knows where. How exactly do you propose to be helpful? And Miguel's like, clearly there's something going on with you, so just talk to me about it. And Tim tries to fly away, and Miguel hits him with a brick wall. He's like, nah, out of bounds, Red Robin. You're upset, we all are. That doesn't give you the right to attack me. Honestly, none of us has time for this crisis of leadership nonsense. You gathered us under your banner. You convinced us that together we could be stronger than we are alone. That means you don't have the luxury of falling apart or walking away when things go wrong. So buck up, Red Robin, or buck off. He's basically telling him to fuck off. Tim's pretty impressed, and he says that nobody has spoken to him like this for a while. I'm just thinking, man, Corinne just spoke to you like this not that long ago. She had a massive go at you. Suddenly, Tim and Miguel get grabbed by Superboy and Cassie. Everybody's suddenly buddy-buddy at this point. I guess all the trauma that they went through in the culling has just made them all fast friends. After that, they decide to chill by a waterfall, and Connor and Cassie have a conversation about how they landed on the island. Apparently, they landed on the bottom of the island, because there's two sides to it. There's a side at the bottom where it's nighttime, and then a side at the top where it's daytime, where they are right now. When they were on the bottom, they found a trap door and they went into it and ended up at the top side. I wish we saw this kind of stuff instead of it just being given by word. Connor then tells Cassie that he needs to go and talk to Tim, and we see on Cassie's wrist that she's got a spike sticking out of her wrist, and there's blood, which can't be a good sign. We'll get into that a little bit later. For now, Miguel and Tim have a conversation about the Teen Titans, where Tim says that he's thinking about disbanding the team. Meanwhile, Bart Allen is having the time of his life. He's gone through so much trouble lately. Now he's just deciding to forget about all of those future visions that he's been having about him possibly being a criminal, to run alongside all these weird dinosaurs on this island. Kiran is with him, racing alongside him. The two decide to lie together on the grass, where it is established that they have feelings for each other. Bart tells her that there was that one kid from the future who recognized him and tried to kill him, and he's like, what do you think that was about? And she's like, oh yeah, it's probably because you were just as annoying in the future as you are now. And then Bart looks at her and is like, when you talk like that, it just makes me want to kiss you. And Solstice is like, maybe you should. And Bart is just like, yeah, I already did. I just kissed you without you even noticing. And then I just did it again. So basically, he assaulted her. Up until now, I just found Bart to be a little bit annoying, but now I have actual reasons to dislike him. Tim wants to disband the team because he blames himself for everything. He promised Celine's sister that he would look after Celine, and then she went missing. He also enlisted Danny to help him with Nowhere, and we have no idea what happened to Danny. He could possibly be dead right now. And Miguel tries to convince him that while a lot of bad has happened, they've done a lot of good, they saved a lot of lives, and you can't just quit just because some unfortunate things have happened. And then Connor shows up. For some reason, he decides to show up floating in the air. He couldn't just walk over to them. Guy always has the aura farm. Connor has come to talk about the fact that the Teen Titans came to rescue him, and for some reason rescue is in quotations when, no, they did rescue you. There's no quotations there. They actually rescued you. It wasn't an accident or anything. Tim says, we know that you would have done the same for me, and Connor basically says, actually I wouldn't have, which is why I need to say thank you and ask you why. And instead of telling him simply why he saved Connor, it's a very simple reason, because they were saving all of the teens from Nowhere and Connor was one of them. Instead, Tim decides not to tell him and instead says, unless you figure it out yourself in 6 months, because you're only 3 months old, then I'll tell you. Why does he have to be so secretive and cryptic all the time? It doesn't make any sense why he would keep this a secret from Connor. And then we get a really weird segue into the next part of the plot, where Miguel is just relaxing on a brick bed that he's created, and he asks for a sign from God, and then a bird lands on top of him, breaking his brick bed, and he says that it's a female bird and that she's smiling, so that must be the sign that God was sending to him. He's like, haha, that's so funny. And then it's at this moment that he notices that there are other bricks amongst his psionic bricks. He puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that they are Danny the Street. He has been destroyed and has landed on the beach. Such a weird way to transition into this reveal. It's like Scott Lobdell didn't know how to do it. Danny can only talk to them in writing, so he sends a message in a bottle for Tim to read and says that he's had a great time fighting alongside them, but he's not going to have the strength to do it much longer. He has enough strength to send them home, and then unfortunately, that's it. That's right, Danny the Street is dying. And Tim is like, no, you can't take us back, because if you do that, you won't survive. The Titans thank Danny for everything that he's done, and are taken home, where they mourn the loss of Danny the Street, who is now Danny the Alley. And yeah, he's dead. It's implied that he dies here. Which is sad, because Danny the Street felt more like a plot device than an actual character, so it's sad that he dies here. Meanwhile, Amanda Waller has found another dead metahuman teen, and she just can't take it anymore. She's like, too many metahuman teens are dying on my watch. I've also been sending metahuman adults to their death. And so she gets in contact with one of her agents, activating Operation Meta Dead Stop. Contact the gardener and bring him in. And hopefully we'll find out what that's about. We now move on to a story from DC Universe Presents issue 12, When Dinosaurs Walked the Earth, written by Fabian Nicieza and Jorge Jimenez. This story's pretty weird. It begins with the introduction of 3 human-dinosaur hybrids that come from the mysterious island that the Titans were on, because apparently that whole time there were human dinosaur hybrids living on that island. They are named Tyrex, Steg, and Dak, from left to right. And immediately they start causing havoc in town, especially Steg. He seems to be the most aggressive member of the group, and at this moment Bart comes out, he's eating some Chinese food, he sees what's going on, and he's like, I shouldn't get involved, but I'm going to because I'm Kid Flash and I love getting involved. And also, Danny the Street, whatever happened with him has brought these 3 dinosaur people here, so I kind of got to do it for him. You know, he sacrificed himself. So Bart heads after Dak, and the entire time he just spends talking about how hot she is because she's this hot pterodactyl girl, and he also talks about how she's running away from him like most girls do, and I'm like, yeah, because you established in the previous issue that you're willing to just kiss girls without consent, using your super speed, so of course they would run away. Dak flies into a clothesline, causing her to fall to the ground, and Bart quickly saves her, and then asks her who she is, and she explains that she's a dino-human hybrid, and that her full name is Eutonocas Mattia Pterodactylidae, but everybody just calls her Dak. And she tells Bart that the reason she's here is that her and her friends are looking for adventure. And Bart is like, oh, if adventure's what you want, try this Chinese food. And she's like, nah, no thank you. And then Bart gets attacked by Tyrex because he thinks that Bart is threatening his friend. And so Bart and Tyrex kind of fight each other. It's more one-sided on Tyrex's side. Bart doesn't really want to fight him. Dak is trying to break up the fight the entire time. And then Bart just beats the shit out of him. He just pummels him. And Dak's like, oh, Tyrex, are you okay? Like, you didn't have to pummel him. But Tyrex is fine. He gets back up and he attacks Bart again. And then the fight just kind of ends, and Bart is like, hey, you were talking about your friend Steg, right? Where is that guy? He's still out there causing havoc. And so he goes to try and find Steg, and we see that Steg is attacking a restaurant that has a whole bunch of lizards in containers, and he wants to let them all free because he says that they are a part of his people, his brothers and sisters. Bart starts saving people, and then he attacks Steg, and Steg uses this chemical that he has to turn all of the lizards in the restaurant into dinosaur creatures, and so now dinosaurs are rampaging around, hurting people, and presumably, possibly even killing people. Bart promises the cops that he's going to stop these reptile-human hybrids. They are here to stop Bart because they actually bring up the fact that he stole the plaque from the Statue of Liberty. I'm surprised they brought that back up again. So apparently the cops did actually care. But Bart is like, yeah, you don't take me down. I'm trying to take them down, and I promise. Put that on the record. According to Tyrex, Steg is a dino supremacist who wants everyone to be like them. And Dak is like, no, he's just misunderstood. It's not that simple. He's a good man, brilliant. No one understands him. It's like, girl, he's put so many humans in danger already. How are you defending this guy? Turns out it's because Dak and Steg have a bit of a thing going on, and Tyrex is interested in Dak, has always been in love with her, and she just doesn't see him that way. Tyrex and Bart decide to team up against the dinosaurs. Bart grabs some banner lines and uses them to tie the dinosaurs up. And then Tyrex meets with Steg and Dak on a nearby roof, where it's discovered that Dak was lying and that she's actually working with Steg to create this Dino Utopia. There's a satchel nearby that contains the chemical that will turn everybody into dinosaurs. The humans will turn into dinosaurs. So Bart decides that he needs to stop them from puncturing the satchel, because Steg throws some spikes towards it. So Bart quickly runs over, grabs the spikes just as they are about to hit the satchel, and while he's doing this, Steg and Dak get away, and Tyrex states that it was all just a ruse. The satchel had nothing in it, and that Steg has a bunch of chemicals somewhere else, and he's gonna use them. So Bart offers to get the Teen Titans help with stopping the dinosaur hybrids and their plan, and we never see the Teen Titans show up. Instead, all we see is Tyrex and Bart dealing with the situation themselves, fighting the dinosaur hybrids. We then cut to Dak grabbing a snake and bringing it over to Steg, where Steg uses the chemical on it, turning it into a hybrid, and it joins the rest of his hybrid army, and he states that they are going to reclaim planet Earth for their kind, and this story never gets concluded. This is actually where it ends. It ends right here. I looked it up to see if there was any conclusion to it, and there wasn't. I was incredibly disappointed. I was like, this story is fine, but why isn't there an ending to it? Why are you just leaving it open like this? We're just forgetting about this? I guess it's just a further example of how much of a mess New 52 was. Where now you have entire stories that have no conclusion. Alright, here we go. We are back to Teen Titans now, and Cassie is hiding in the bathroom of the Teen Titans penthouse where spikes are coming out of her body. She's bleeding everywhere because she's having a hard time controlling her armor, as it's been established in some prior issues. Meanwhile, outside, Bart, Miguel, and Kiran are fighting against this character known as Loose Cannon, who is just a Hulk ripoff. He throws a plasma television which smashes through the bathroom and almost hits Cassie. And Bart is like, does she know that we've accidentally broken a supervillain into our penthouse? And at that moment, Cassie comes crashing through with her armor on, beating the shit out of Loose Cannon. He's like, my turn, and the name is Loose Cannon. And then she starts using her lashes against him, and she explains that she can draw power from anything using the lashes. And then all of a sudden, she loses control of herself. Her eyes go red, she becomes enraged, and she sucks all the power out of Loose Cannon, and he turns into his human form, falls into the ocean, and she's like, huh? Did I pass out again? At that moment, Cassie turns to everybody and is like, would you all like to tell me what happened? And Miguel explains that Tim was thinking about quitting the team, and so Miguel decided to put out a Greg's List for anyone who wanted to join the Teen Titans. And he found this guy, he brought him to the penthouse. Turned out this guy was actually Loose Cannon and didn't want to join the Teen Titans. It's also questionable whether or not this guy was even a teenager to begin with. They don't establish what his age was. I guess we have to assume he was a teenager. Bart asks Cassie how she took him down because he's so tough. And she says that, you have your secrets, Bart. I have mine. Here's hoping mine don't get us all killed. And it's like, wouldn't it be simpler to just tell them what's going on? Why does everybody keep secrets from each other in this series so often when they're so dangerous? If your secrets are going to get everybody killed, maybe they shouldn't be secrets. Meanwhile, at the Museum of Natural History, the guards there have been killed by some dude who has this spiritual energy around him. He's clearly searching for Cassie. He has scars all over his body, and the dude is butt naked. He's just hovering through the museum wearing absolutely nothing. Imagine these guards just came here, regular shift, and then they just see this guy naked just hovering in the museum. Maybe he didn't even kill them. Maybe they just decided to end it. Instead of cleaning the penthouse, Miguel and Bart just decide to eat popcorn and pizza and watch TV because Bart can just clean the place in a split second whenever he wants to. And then we cut to Connor with some girl named Dallas that he's been hanging with lately. He's moved into the city. She's got a whole new look that I kind of dig a little bit. But she kind of ruins the moment, saying that she's excited about the fact that he has a fetish. He wears tattoos and clothes and apparently has a fetish for Miley Cyrus, is what she's implying. Because she's like, oh yeah, at one point I was really interested in Miley Cyrus as well. It's great that we have so much LGBT representation in this book, but it also sucks that we have so much LGBT representation in this book. The one where it's just terrible. Terrible dialogue, terrible reveals. They deserve better. Connor notices that the penthouse has gone dark. The electricity is cut out. And the Titans notice this as well. So Bart decides to go and check it out, and he sees that somebody has destroyed the electricity, and then he gets punched by Cassie. It's very clearly Cassie. It's her armored gauntlet. He manages to make it back to Karan and Miguel before passing out, and Karan's just like, my love! And Miguel's like, what did I miss? Like, Bart and I shared a moment on the island. Honestly, it's been building since the moment he rescued me from nowhere. We only made out, though. We're just friends. Like, what? A moment ago, you called him your love, and then you're saying, oh, we just made out. We're friends. Like, friends do that. They see that somebody is trying to get into the door, so Miguel puts a big brick wall in front of it, but it doesn't do anything. The person just smashes through it, sending Miguel flying, and then he gets hit in the back of the head by one of his own psionic bricks, knocking him out. You'd think that his own bricks wouldn't work against himself. At this point, we don't see Cassie, but Solstice says that it's her. He's like, Wonder Girl, Cassie, is that you? Let's just say that like you and Bart, it's complicated. But yes, Solstice, it is me. Meanwhile, Tim is in a taxi, and the taxi driver is like, sorry, bud, it's gonna take us a while to get back to your penthouse. And then he turns to look back in the back seat, and Tim has disappeared because he sees what's going on at the penthouse. Karan fights against Cassie, and Cassie states that no power on Earth can work against her, and she grabs Karan by the throat, and Karan says, that's a mistake a lot of people make, Wonder Girl. What is that? Thinking my power comes from this world. We then cut to Tim and Connor meeting up together at the penthouse where they see the whole place has been destroyed. They decide to go in and see what happened, and all they find is Cassie covered in her armor, covered in blood everywhere, on her knees, with the bodies of the Titans around her, and she begs them to help her before she kills again. And Tim's just like, again? So we just saw Solstice say that, like, her power doesn't come from Earth, and it looked like she's gonna have some badass moment, and then it just cuts away, and we don't even see Karan get defeated. It happens off panel. It's funny how in the last issue, everybody was so buddy-buddy. We were actually getting some wholesome moments within this team, and then all of a sudden it's like, and now for the Cassie Sands Mark villain arc. The Villain Sans arc. Superboy gets sent flying through a tree where we see that Cassie, Tim, and Connor are in the middle of the woods by a log cabin. Why does this series just keep skipping context? Because in the last issue we ended with them at the penthouse with Cassie begging them for help, and now we're just at a log cabin. Like, can we see the bits that they are saying happened off panel? Like, we missed a whole conversation between them and Cassie, and her switching back to being a brute who is attacking the both of them. It's been getting really annoying. It's a really annoying way to tell a story. And Connor refuses to believe that this is Cassie. He's like, whoever's in that armor, it's not Cassie. At least not the one I know. So I'm gonna take you down. And then Tim treats him like a dog. He's like, stay. And Connor listens to him, I guess. Tim tries to talk down Cassie. He knows that the armor is making her do this, but Cassie does not care. She's like, I've been trying to keep this armor from taking control of me this whole time, and now I've given into it because I just don't care anymore. And now I'm gonna kill you. And she goes to smash him, and Connor saves his life. And then he says, I decided to take you away from her because I know you were just like hitting on her. It's like, what? What are you talking about, Connor? He was trying to talk her down because they're friends. Why does this always have to circle back to relationships and romance and shit? I swear, during every major fight between these characters, they always have to bring up the fact that one of them is hot, or that they're flirting with each other, or something. It's like this series takes itself way too seriously, and then there are times where it isn't taking itself seriously enough. Meanwhile, Miguel, Bart, and Kiran wake up in a motel that I guess they were dropped at by Tim and Connor. How did the events of this story even work? Were they at the penthouse with Cassie, and then they were like, alright, hold up, before we have our fight, just let me quickly take our friends to this motel over here, and then we'll head out to the woods. I got a log cabin out there, we can fight there. Like, how does it even work? What is the context of this story and its events? They decide to just stay at the motel and wait, and then they never show up again for the rest of the issue. Connor flies straight at Cassie, smashing into the ground, creating a massive explosion, and it's revealed that he's just flown into the ground and knocked himself out, and Cassie's like, seriously? That was the Mortal's master plan? The super face plant? Which is just some dumb dialogue. And Tim is like, no, not all of it, no. That was just a distraction so I could get close enough to do this! And like, he kicks Cassie, and I'm just thinking, wow, that's the dumbest plan ever. Tim literally went up to Connor and was like, hey man, what you gotta do is you gotta fly towards her, make it look like you're gonna hit her, but actually knock yourself out so that you can distract her, so that I can go in and kick her. Like, what? What kind of plan is that? Cassie then grabs Tim by the neck and starts talking about her armor and how it was born in the womb of the sun. I don't know what it is with Scott Lobdell and the word womb, but he loves it because when Omen was here, you know, she had her womb, and then now we've got Cassie's armor being born in the womb of the sun. Tim slashes Cassie's armor with his wings, injuring her, and while she heals, Connor grabs her by the leg and uses his telekinesis against her to start pulling the armor off of her body, and it just makes you wonder, why didn't he do this from the beginning? Why did he have to smash into the ground? He was very close to her in the previous panel. He could have just grabbed her leg and used his tactile telekinesis against her, since that's what he ended up doing anyway. They come to the conclusion that the armor is like a parasite. It can only live with a host. So if they pull it off of her, they kill it, which they succeed in doing. And they're like, Cassie, are you okay? And she's like, yes. Finally, I have control of my own body. And she tries talking to them and they won't respond. She's like, hey guys, are you okay? And then somebody else is like, I'm afraid they can't respond, Cassie. Something to do with the paralytic gas I unleashed a moment ago. And it's the guy that we saw from earlier. Apparently his name is Diesel. He's not naked anymore. He's got clothes on, which is good. I guess he just knew to come here with some spare paralytic gas. He knew he was going to have to use it. All of the villains in the series just happen to be prepared for any instance. It's almost as if it's bad writing. Seems Diesel and Cassie have a bit of a history. Also, what kind of name is Diesel? Bro thinks he's tough. Apparently, they were lovers. He was there when she got her armor, and she abandoned him, and now he wants revenge, because he's like, you said you loved me, and then you abandoned me, and now I've come back to take what is rightfully mine. And Cassie is like, well, you can't, because the armor's gone. And he says, you know that's not possible, but don't stress. The armor is no longer your concern. And then he grabs her, pulls her up into the sky, and starts flowing energy throughout his body. Like, you actually think you have a choice? As naive as you ever were. Actually, more so. While you were trying to suppress your gift, I was training. While you ran away, I embraced our common destiny. That is insane. You know there is no way to contain this power. I got the scars to prove it. But I've made my peace with my role as a harbinger of the end of the world. I'll be honest, I'm looking forward to it. You had your chance, Cassie. You could have saved us all a lot of heartache, as if you had just told me you loved me and meant it. Bull. The only thing you ever cared about was power. And he puts on this suit of armor, and it's a silver version of Cassie's armor, because of course it is. And then he just leaves. It's like, true. And thanks for that. And he flies off. So he basically just did the superhero or the supervillain version of when you send like a message to your ex saying, that you're so much better off without them, and that you never really needed them, but you were only kidding yourself. You're trying to act like you don't care, but deep down you actually do care. That's what this guy's like. Tim and Connor are freed from paralysis. They go over to Cassie to check in on her and say that she's been freed from the armor and that she should be all good now and that they will help her chase down her ex. And Cassie's like, you don't understand. Yes, the armor was really shit. Like, it ruined my life. Like, that's just what she said. She's like, yeah, it made me bleed. It was killing me slowly. But at the same time, I really need to get the armor back because if I don't, our world is in danger. She's got that grumpy toddler stance as she's walking away. With this next issue, the team goes through a little bit of a shift. It's still written by Scott Lobdell, but Fabian Nicieza is the scripter, and Ali Gaza is the artist. And now we finally learn about the origin of Cassie Sandsmark. When she was younger, she was traveling around with her mother to different archaeological sites where she would like to take in the sites of the cities that she was in. In this panel, she's dressed in, like, clearly in ninja garb or something, but she's actually in China, so it doesn't really make much sense. And she's holding a necklace that she has stolen, so the authority are chasing after her, and she's just kind of nonchalant about it. She's like, oh, sorry, I stole one of your ancient relics. I don't really care. And this guy who's just doing his job gets knocked out by Diesel. This is how Cassie and Diesel met each other, and even the other characters point out how stupid his name is. I guess Scott Lobdell is self-aware of his writing sometimes. Either that or people who read the last issue said the name was stupid, and then Scott added it to this issue. They immediately hit it off, and for some reason Cassie's like, our relationship was like 50 Shades of Grey. Maybe I shouldn't have used that as an example. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't have. Why would you ever want to compare a relationship to 50 Shades of Grey? It's like Scott Lobdell hasn't even read 50 Shades of Grey. I doubt he's read that book. He's clearly just making a reference, just another pop culture reference to something that was popular at the time. Her and Diesel immediately hit it off, and most of the origin just focuses on their relationship. Honestly, I don't give a shit about Diesel. I care more about the relationship between Cassie and her mother, Helena, because Helena gets nothing in this. Like, we've established that she is traveling around with her mother, but her mother appears in one panel, and then she says one thing. She has one line where she's talking about how patience is important, and that Cassie lacks patience. These are the only times that we ever see Helena Sandsmark. She's telling this whole story to Tim and Connor. They're all on a plane together, heading to the site, the archaeological site, where her, Diesel, and Helena went. We then cut back to that archaeological site, where Cassie realizes that Diesel has gone missing, and that he's probably gone into the tomb that they found. And she decides to go after him. For some reason, she's not worried about him doing anything stupid. It's not a good sign if the guy that you're with abandons you and your mother and heads into this tomb that could be really dangerous without telling you. Like, that's not a good sign. Eventually, she finds him. He has this weird armor stuck to his face. This is what she would call the silent armor, which she wears in present day. She finds a couple of golden gloves and puts them on, and it gives her her costume and lariat. She just finds them on the ground, like her superhero costume and gloves. Apparently, these have nothing to do with the armor that takes control of her. This costume is separate from that armor, because she then puts on the armor. She asks it to become one with her, and it becomes this kind of spirit thing that envelops her body and becomes one with it, because she thinks that in doing so, she will free Diesel from the armor, and that he can't control it like she can. And he gets really mad at her because he says that the armor is mine, not yours, give it back. And then the temple starts to crash, and the ceiling caves in and buries him in all this rubble, and she's just worried about him, even though he was trying to attack her a second ago. She's still worried about him. She's like, Diesel? Diesel! Oh no. My ex, who just tried to kill me for taking the armor away from him, has been buried under all this rubble. Oh no. And that is the end of her origin story. That's it. And now Diesel is back, so we gotta figure out how he came back and also how he got his own armor, because apparently there was only one silent armor, but now there's two. The trio then jumps out of the plane that they're on because they are now flying over the island that they were going to. They land on the island where the archaeological site is, and Tim points out in a plot twist that the language at the archaeological site isn't that of the Montcalm family, which is what Cassie originally thought it was. It's something even older. It's called the Mark of Trigon. So yeah, we're getting into Trigon, which means maybe Raven's gonna show up. And then we cut to Amanda Waller having a conversation with Agent Lance. Remember that guy from that one issue where they were on that ship that got cut in half by Solstice? And she asked Lance to help her find metahuman teenagers and get them to safety? Well, we're just repeating that scene again, where she asked him to find the metahuman teenagers and bring them to her. Like, why are we repeating this plot line? It feels like this Amanda Waller plot isn't going anywhere, because we usually have one scene reminding us that it's going on, and then we forget about it for a few issues, and then we have another scene reminding us that it's going on. Tim Drake establishes that Trigon is the foundation of the Trinity belief system. You know, like the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Well, according to Tim, Trigon is all three of those. Then Connor's tactile telekinesis starts picking up on something like it's a spider sense, and Diesel shows up with the worst opening line ever. He shows up, he's like, awkward. Oh, I just showed up with my Blood Warrior army. Yeah, he's got an army of Blood Warriors. It's established where they came from later, but it's not like they're given any actual backstory. He just says, oh, I created them from my blood. Simple as that. He sends his Blood Warriors after Connor, Tim, and Cassie, so they all fight them, and then Cassie gets enveloped by the Blood Warriors and she disappears. Meanwhile, Bart, Miguel, and Karan are just hanging out in Jersey, drinking soda and stuff, kind of waiting to be relevant to the plot. And Karan meets with Agent Lance. He shows up in the bathroom where after she's had a shower. Bit of a weird place to show up. And he says that he knows the truth to getting back her humanity, because she sees herself as a human in her reflection. All she has to do, according to him, is make better choices. This is way more interesting of a plotline than whatever's going on with Cassie and Diesel. Connor saves Tim from some of the Blood Warriors, and he sees a cave, and they kind of think, oh, maybe she's gone in there. But they don't really think to actually go in there and look for her. Like, they kind of do, but they spend most of their time just fighting Blood Warriors while Cassie deals with Diesel. And she admits to Diesel that she still loves him, even though he's yanking on her hair and saying horrible things to her about how he's going to take over the world and kill everybody, including her friends. Like, look at him. He's just grabbing her, holding her by her hair. I have everything and you have nothing. No, not everything. And then he hits her, because of course he's abusive as well. The lariat, Cass won't let it hurt me. You have no choice, Diesel. It's a tendril of the silent armor that I kept inside of me, and once I give it a task, it will never stop until it's done it. What? What did you tell it to do? To stop you. According to Connor, some kind of mysterious force is stopping him from being able to find Cassie with his telekinetic abilities. Even though, from what we see, it just looks like they're in just one really long tunnel. I guess this must be a cave system. There's no evidence of that, but we just have to assume so, because they can't find them. All of a sudden, the Blood Warriors disappear, and they know why. It's because Cassie has taken the silent armor back from Diesel, and also taken away most of his life energy. She doesn't kill him. She doesn't have to because he gives up the armor willingly. But even after all this, she still says that she loves him and that she's going to endure the curse for the both of them. And I'm like, come on, Cassie. Really? The dude hit you earlier and he was pulling on your hair and stuff, doing all sorts of abusive shit, and you still say you love him? It's just kind of sad. I hope things get better for her, because she deserves a lot better than this. She returns to Tim and Connor and refuses to elaborate on what happened with Diesel because everybody has their secrets, as per usual. And she's like, if you're not even going to tell us your real name, Red Robin, then I'm not going to tell you what happened between me and Diesel. Even though it's clear that she got the silent armor back from him, and they can kind of put two and two together that she left him at least in a catatonic state or something, like knocked him out. She then says that until then, she needs the Titans to help her keep the armor inside of her check. We then head to the penthouse, where Superboy says that he's leaving the Titans because he's got to go deal with things in his own book, because he feels like a monster. Because that's a running theme in this book, is that the Titans feel like monsters. At this point, it always feels like when the team is finally coming together, members just keep leaving. First it was Skitter, now Superboy. Kiran has another encounter with Lance, who reminds her about his offer. He says that he has the ability to communicate with metahuman powers and alter them. So if he wanted to, he could give her back her human form. But she needs to help him help the Teen Titans first. But he doesn't elaborate on how. He then gets word from somebody that something is going on, so he has to quickly disappear. Kiran then goes and visits Tim, wanting to have a conversation with him, but Tim has elsewhere to be. He needs to go help Batman with stuff that's going on with the Joker, so he leaves. But he doesn't tell them that. So now it's just Bart, Kiran, Cassie, and Miguel. They've all just cooked dinner and had something to eat. And we learned from Miguel that he likes cooking and that it's something that he's always wanted to do. But they're a bit bummed because their team is slowly falling apart. Miguel says that there's no place he'd rather be than here, and Cassie says there's always somewhere else to go, Miguel. And he's like, yeah, but maybe not somewhere better. You left the boy you love to be with people you profess not to care about at all. Why would that be, I wonder? I prefer to give everyone their privacy. Oh, sorry. But am I supposed to pretend I don't see the way you and Red Robin look at each other? Cassie tells Miguel to drop it, and he says, well, if you ever come to a point where you want to stop ignoring things and actually have a proper talk with me about this, then feel free to. And before he can finish his conversation, he's interrupted by Bart, who's like, everyone come here. They head to Tim's room, and they see a doll or a dummy that has been stuffed and made to look like Tim, and it's clear that it was put here by the Joker, so they put two and two together and they're like, oh, Tim has been kidnapped by the Joker, we gotta go deal with that, because this book is now tying into Death of the Family, which was the event going on Batman at the time, and that is where the issue ends, and that is where this week's video is going to end. Next week we will be covering the Death of the Family tie-ins to Teen Titans. This story arc was a real drag. I was definitely tired of it by the end, and I just don't care about Diesel or Cassie's backstory at all. I wonder if her mother will ever show up in this book again, because she barely even showed up in the flashbacks. I'm just hoping that we move on from that stuff altogether. I'd be fine with never seeing Diesel ever again. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the hype button below because it helps my channel grow. And feel free to like and subscribe. And I will see you next week for the Death of the Family Teen Titans edition. Have a good one.